There is a procedure that we follow in this committee. We do not on our own pick up any petition and then sit on it. Every petition is referred to us by the whole Senate. Once a petition is laid on the floor and is referred to the committee, then committee has the power now to sit on those matters. The matter before us today is the matter that was referred to us on the 25th February 2025, on an issue that happened February 25th, 2025, by one of our distinguished senators, Senator Adaru, who moved a motion on the incident of disorder caused by Senator Natasha during plenary on Thursday, 20th February 2025, over the reallocation of her seat. The Senate deliberated on the matter and thereafter referred it to this committee for further legislative action. And this is the reason why we're here and nothing more and nothing less. Like I said before, I hope that distinguished Senator Akpabio will join us as we deliberate on this matter. But I will yield this microphone to the motion, to the maker of the motion, distinguished Senator Adaru, to one, introduce himself, and secondly, to address this committee on his motion upon which we are all seated. Senator Adaru, over to you.
My name is Senator Adaru. I represent the South Central District of Ekiti State. I am eminently from Ekiti State. And consequently and subsequently, I am the spokesman for the 10th Senate of the 10th Assembly of the Federal Republic, National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Like Mr. Chairman has stated, I, as the maker of the Senate, was seriously miffed and quite discomfited with the state of the odious reputation that the Senate is degenerating into and the public opprobrium that is being generated by the behavior of one of us at the plenary on February 20, 2025. And as the maker of the Senate, I started receiving a lot of calls, both locally, nationally, and internationally, and even exponentially from even members of my own family, that what is happening in the Senate. It became quite very difficult for me to even address the deluge of those demands that I have to talk and tell the public what really happened. And on that said day, February 28th, Thursday, 2025, at the Senate, in the plenary, in the chamber of that day, that was almost a breakdown of law and order in the chamber. That there was almost a kind of legislative topsy-turvy. Because one of us, Senator Natasha was vehemently opposing the directive that her seat has been changed to somewhere else within the chambers. And she was duly informed by the sergeant at her, but she did not go to that assigned seat. And when we go by our orders, because like I said on the floor of the Senate, when I was moving the said motion, that we have our standing orders, which are our rules, our statutes. It's our internal constitution. Because we are empowered by the various sections of the Constitution, that is the National Assembly, to make our own rules that will guide us, since we are not barbarians, since it is not an animal farm. And even in an animal farm, there is a modicum of decency and decorum. The standing orders clearly stated how, where, when, why a senator will behave in the chambers, even almost outside the chambers too, because it stipulated our actions at committee levels and then oversight functions. And going by section, by order 6 of that our standing rules, which are our orders, whereby it was expressly stated, statutorily stated, vividly stated, exponentially stated, that the Senate President is the only consenting authority that can allocate seats for senators. And the following section stated that a senator can only speak when he or she is properly seated on the seat allocated to him or her. Meaning that does not mean that wherever you are in the Senate chamber, that you can raise up your hand to be recognized to speak. If it is like that, it means that the rest 108 can just be speaking from wherever. And then it means that any senator can be at Wuse Market and raise up his hand, and maybe through video coverage, and tell the presiding officer that I'm raising my hands up here, you have to recognize me. So that is kind of anomaly that order is trying to cure. And we all subscribe to our orders. So on the third day, there was an uproar because our own colleague, our dear colleague, Senator Natasha refused to go to the seat that was newly allocated for her. And the Senate President, who was presiding that day, directed that she should properly sit where she is allocated to be before she can raise a point of order, because our colleague was raising a point of order hinging it on the permission, the express permission of Order 10. And we all know that we are going to count 6 before we can count 10. And we all know, like I said, that Order 6 stipulates that you can only talk where you are supposed to sit. Where you are supposed to sit. Not wherever. Not wherever that you can talk. And so, if you are not in order, you cannot raise a point of order. And that day, it expressly showed, statutorily showed, that our colleague was not in order. So she cannot raise a point of order. But she vehemently wanted to raise the order, which brought the presiding officer not even to invoke all the other powers that is written in our order book, that the presiding officer can even order a senator out if that senator is going to rancorously affect the business of the legislation. But this order was not invoked by the presiding officer. Tension rose up. Senators started appeasing our own colleague to obey the directive of the presiding officer, which at the end of the day was not obeyed. And nothing happened. But fortunately, the leader of the caucus from Kogi, that day, on behalf of the Kogi senators, which our own colleague belonged to, apologized on behalf of the said senator and Kogi caucus, which the Senate took with equanimity. Unfortunately, the media has already picked it, the public has already picked it, and then it became a kind of very sordid debate, astonishing, demeaning, perilous, pernicious debate outside the Senate. And then I, Senator Adaru, the spokesperson of the Senate, have to be at the receiving end. I started holding the longer side of the stick, which is too heavy for me to bear. And now I had to come to the Senate, to the floor. And I raised it, that yes, you have to come to Macedonia and assist the inhabitants of Macedonia. And I raised the motion that unless something is done to instill discipline and strict adherence to our orders and rules, that if we are permitted as senators who are lawmakers to keep breaking our own internal laws, then how are we going to handle those people that are breaking the laws that we are making for Nigeria and Nigerians? So because of this, I raised a motion which comprised of my report over what I experienced for a very hot, unsalacious 4 days, including a big weekend that I'm supposed to have my rest. So, and then this culminated into a unanimous support of my motion that this should be referred to the Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions Committee. And I hold it, and I wish to hold it, and I wish to reiterate once again that unless the Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition Committee does its job as stipulated by our books, then definitely this kind of behaviors will be a very frequent occurrence. Then the work of the legislation will be jeopardized. Then why we are here as lawmakers will be compromised. And so that's why I'm here to stick to what I said, what I raised, what I defended, what I presented, and what I reported on the floor of the chamber of the 10th Senate. I stand by it. Thank you very much.
Natasha Akpabio was properly notified of this meeting, and to also further let you know that she was on the floor of the Senate today, and she contributed to the proceedings of today, and it was also announced on the floor of the Senate that this meeting was going to hold at 2 o'clock at this venue, room 120. Again, I'm hoping that she will be here to give us her side of the story. Before I would like to yield to the chairman of the Committee on Rules and Business to give us analysis of what he has for the committee. Chairman, please, over to you.
Public petitions, the two colleagues, gentlemen of the press. My name is Senator. To make in order that Nigerians will know the truth of the whole scenario surrounding the recent development concerning our colleague, distinguished Senator Natasha, with regards to the statements she made on television a few days ago concerning her allegation that she has been deliberately suppressed by the Senate President from carrying out her duties, part of which she claims is the reason for her anger. I want to draw our attention to the fact that the Senate institution is highly regulated, including the way we participate in proceedings and even our dress codes. It is a highly regulated institution, and we are regulated by this red book called Senate Standing Orders. And by virtue of my position as the chairman of the Committee on Rules and Business, I stand to protect the rules of the Senate and to ensure that the rules are enforced at all sittings of the Senate. I want to draw our attention to Senate Standing Order Rule 1, which says the proceedings in the Senate and in all committees of the Senate shall be conducted in accordance with the Senate rules and orders. Section 1B of the Senate Standing Order even provides that in all cases not provided for in this standing order or by seasonal or other orders or practice of the Senate shall, by resolution, regulate its own procedures. What it means is that even where there are no specific standing orders as contained in this book, the Senate can, by way of resolution, decide on how to conduct her businesses. But in this case, the Senate President acted upon the proviso as contained in Order 6 that is already alluded to by the distinguished Senator Adaru. Let me read Section 6 before I draw your attention to what I'm just laying the background.
Before that.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Mark here. Since you are making a presentation to us, we will respectfully request you to sit over there and give your presentation from there.
Okay. On a motion to investigate alleged incidences of corruption and inefficiency at the Ajaokota Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Company located in Kogi State, ably moved by Senator Akpabio, Udwan and Natasha, Kogi Central. The chairman, Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions, National Assembly Complex, Abuja. The Senate Committee on Rules and Business acknowledges concerns raised during Senator Akpabio Udwan's interview on Arise News Channel on February 28, 2025, where she accused the Senate President of deliberately delaying her legislative duties. Given the importance of transparency and procedural integrity in legislative processes, the committee deems it necessary to clarify the facts surrounding her motion on the investigation of alleged corruption and inefficiency at Ajaokota Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Company. Contrary to claims of deliberate suppression, the motion followed standard legislative procedures. On Wednesday, February 7, 2024, Senator Natasha raised a point of order pursuant to Senate Orders 41 and 51, seeking an investigation into corruption and inefficiency at a Ajaokota Steel Company, and she requested immediate presentation of her motion. However, due to a scheduled security briefing involving service chiefs, the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Defense, Police Affairs, and Interior, as well as the Inspector General of Police, the Senate deferred the motion to the next legislative day. The security briefing continued until February 13, 2024. The motion was subsequently rescheduled for debate on February 21, February 22 and 27, 2024. It was eventually debated and resolved on February 27, 2024. In the light of the above, the committee affirms that all motions appearing on the Senate order paper undergo approval by the Senate President. The motion moved by Senator Natasha Akpabio was scheduled through the standard legislative process. Contrary to allegations that it was debated because the Deputy Senate President was presiding, the Senate President had approved it for consideration under Orders 41 and 51 on February 7, 2024. The scheduling of motions follows procedural rules and is subject to time constraints during plenary sessions. The position of motions on the order paper often results in their deferment when Senate sittings exceed beyond allocated time. The motion on Ajaokota Steel and Nyamko was affected by these procedural realities. As a question of legislative scheduling and setting the Senate's priorities, the committee emphasized that motions and legislative measures appearing on the order paper are not automatically deliberated upon on the same day. Legislative priorities and time constraints influence the deliberation of motions. Urgent matters such as requests from Mr. President, issues of national security, or closed-door sessions often take precedence and can lead to rescheduling. This procedural reality was evident in the handling of Senator Akpabio's motion, which was deferred on some occasions before it was finally debated upon. Such occurrences are common in parliamentary proceedings and do not reflect bias or an attempt to suppress any legislative contributions. In retrospect, since assuming office as Senator for Kogi Central, Senator Akpabio has exercised her legislative mandate effectively. She has sponsored 3 bills, one of which is at the committee stage, while the other 2 have passed the first reading. She also moved a motion on the passing of the Ohinoi of Ibiraland, Dr. Abdurrahman Ado Ibrahim. The committee reiterates that every senator is accorded fair and equal opportunities to contribute to legislative debates. The case of Senator Udwan is no exception. The Senate remains committed to upholding its procedural integrity and ensuring that all senators, regardless of seniority, are given avenues to engage meaningfully in the legislative process. Notwithstanding, the Senate Committee on Rules and Business plays a key role in structuring the legislative agenda. The process of scheduling motions, bills, and debates is guided by established parliamentary procedures. It is standard practice for motions to be rescheduled based on the availability of time and the urgency of other national issues. The committee ensures that all motions follow due process and are subjected to deliberation in a structured manner. Therefore, the claim that certain motions are given preferential treatment or suppressed does not align with parliamentary norms. The scheduling of Senator Akpabio's motion followed established Senate rules, and any delays were due to normal legislative rescheduling constraints. With the facts clearly expressed, the Senate Committee on Rules and Business assures the public that due process was followed in the handling of Senator Akpabio's motion. The motion was approved by the Senate President, scheduled for deliberation in line with the standard procedures, and eventually debated on February 27, 2024, and was thereafter referred to an ad hoc committee constituted for that purpose, headed by Senator Adaru. The delays were procedural and not indicative of any attempt to suppress her motions. The Senate remains committed to transparency, accountability, and fairness in her proceedings. All senators, regardless of experience, are provided the necessary support to navigate the legislative process effectively. The case of Senator Akpabio underscores the procedural realities of parliamentary operations and the importance of patience in navigating legislative engagements. Thank you, and may God bless you. I am Senator Titus Zam, Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give and the one I have given before this distinguished committee is the truth and shall remain the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Sergeant at Arms, who was at the plenary on the day of this incident, to present his report officially.
Can I go ahead? Okay. Oath of administration. I, Mukhtar Usman Daudawa, do solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give before this distinguished committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Please tell.
As a guest, good afternoon to you all. My name is Mukhtar Usman Daudawa. I am the DD Sergeant at Arms in charge of Mesbera and the Chambers Sergeant at Arms generally. The incidents on my own side, I will start from Wednesday, 19th February 2025. Immediately after the closure of the sitting on that very day, that's after the adjournment, the Chief Whip, in person of Senator Mohammed Tahir Monguno, informed me that the leadership of the Senate had directed him to effect some adjustments, some changes on the minority side as a result of the movement, or in other words, defection of 2 senators from minority side to majority side. The senators are Senator Ned Munir Ngoko and Senator Onyebochi Francis Ezenwa, who accordingly moved to the majority side, therefore created a vacant spaces. So I met the Chief Whip. He also reminded me that I should do it in line with the ranking, as it has been the tradition of the Senate. You are all aware of FIC ranking. You have to respect who comes first, and depending on the number of your appearance or attendance in the Senate. So, and I set a proposal concerning the movement. The line that were directly affected were those people that came for the first time, but all of them came from House of Reps, where you have people like Senator Onao and the rest. And the space was created between Senator Onao and that of Senator Kau. So I made a proposal that Senator Akpabio was the only person that was from House of Reps that still was joined with those first-timers. So automatically we brought him forward. Next to him was Senator Aminu Iya Abbas and the rest. So I made the chief, we say, yes, Senator Iya Abbas, even though he's the first, coming for the first time, I think being him a speaker for some years in the House of Reps, you can bring him forward to be together with those people. Then the next 2 that I brought forward were that of Senator Friday Kombowel and that of Samaila Kaila. So I brought them forward automatically. The next line to be moved is the last line of there. The last line where those people that are sitting at the extreme end of the minority side. So when I went there, the first on that seat is Senator Natasha Udoagan. So automatically, and in the movement or within the Senate chamber, the sitting ranking starts from the aisle where Senate President normally enters the chamber. So when you start from there, you move to the extreme end. When you finish, you start from the aisle, move to that end. So Natasha was moved automatically from her former seat at the extreme back to the extreme left immediately after Senator Ireti Kingibe, in line with those ranking tradition of the Senate. And those remaining 4 people, Senator Akobundu, Senator Ekong, Senator Yaro, Senator Pam, and Senator Johanna, they are on, since they are at the extreme end, they just move automatically to the next seat, where Senator Akobundu will sit at the present former seat of Senator Natasha, and in that they move in that order. So that was how we moved it. So I did that. I told him that I will effect it tomorrow. He said, no, go and do it this evening. So that first thing tomorrow morning when we come, we will see a new arrangement. So I went back and I effected those changes. Immediately I finished, I called most of my staff that were around. I told them, I said, please, this is a new instruction from the leadership. And any senator you know that has been affected, please inform them tomorrow morning and guide them to their new seats. The few that were there really, the following morning on the 20th, that is Thursday, as they were seen right from the register table, anyone that came, they informed him. I could remember Senator Ekong came, they informed him, and he went, even though he raised some observations, but he said, okay, no problem. He sat down on his seat. Senator Akpabio also was approached. He went to his seat. And the next one that came was Senator Natasha. I could remember one of my staff, in person of Sandra, she approached her because she's not in charge of register table and reports. So she told her, as I directed them, that this your seat had been moved to so. She said, where? I said, you have moved to that place. She said, no. Please, over my dead body, I will not be there. Nobody can move me to that place. After showing her that seat. So our own is to do the work of nothing but the work of a messenger, inform her, and as she did not say that, she started shouting. She started shouting that she would not go there. That was before we came into the chamber, while we were in the Senate President's office waiting. That was the time she came in. So from the Senate President's office, we were even watching through that CCTV inside the SP office. So I called the attention of all my staff, Madam Macy. I said, see what is happening there. So she went, she said, this is what is going on. I said, well, let's wait and see what will happen. You have informed her, you have discharged, we have discharged our own responsibilities. Not until when the procession came in, Senate President entered the chamber. He entered, then some consultations were going on, trying to appeal to her to listen, but she was sitting down on her former seat. Not until when the vote and proceeding was approved, immediately after the approval of votes and proceedings, then Senator Tahir Monguno raised a point of order informing the Senate about the new changes, which he said clearly that Senator Natasha should move to her newly allocated seats next to Senator Ireti Kingibe. If her refusal to do that may tantamount to that she may not be allowed to speak, because it is against the rules of the Senate, a senator to speak from a seat not allocated to him. She insisted. So after he finished his point of order, informing the Senate, she too equally raised another point of order according to her under privileges, that her privilege has been infringed, therefore she cannot move to that. Still, SP says he will not recognize her until when she moves to that her newly allocated seat. So she continued shouting, following a lot of unparliamentary languages. So based on that, SP directed that Sergeant at Arms should go and off her microphone and take her take her outside the chamber so that we'll have a relative peace within the chamber. We approached her. Immediately we are moving there. We called some of the ladies so that somebody will not hide under tradition, and even though in discharging our duties we can do beyond that. So as we approached, many senators surrounded her that no, we should not move her. They're trying to plead to the Senate President to see normalcy is brought back to the chamber. So in a nutshell, this is what I can easily. Okay, sorry. Lastly, after a while, she sat down. Then Senate continued with its proceedings. Then first readings were read, I think including one of our motions. She sat down inside the chamber on that old seat. So immediately after the old seat not allocated, immediately after the consultation of the first reading, I noticed she just went out. And on that very day, one of the senators from Kogi State, Senator Issa Jibrin, stood and raised another point of order, pleading and apologizing to the Senate on her behalf. And Senator Karimi Sunday also corroborated with an addition that he too, she should apologize to him for showing an insultive words on him on an issue that is not even known to him. He did not act it, and he told her, but this was the fact those things happened. So in brief, this is what I know, what I could remember on that very day. And immediately after that, on Monday, I summoned a meeting where I asked like 5 of my staff to tell me what they could remember that transpired on that very day. Sandra, Mekaswa Bari Karshi, Messi, Rashid, Esther, they have all, and Udime, they have all presented their report, which I attach here, that I would like to, if allowed, I will submit to the committee. Thank you, sir.
Clerk, in the plenary, that's on the floor of the Senate, distinguished Senator Natasha Akpabio presented a petition before the Senate, and there were a lot of objections to those to that petition because of the manner in which it came. But in the wisdom of the Senate President, it was still referred to us, to this committee. And for us to save time, because we need to make a report to report back to the Senate in a few days, I will address that that petition. But I will go through our rules and our order, our standing orders as amended. That petition, for what she read on the floor and for what I've seen, is making some allegations that are already in court. It's already in court. And it is the procedure of this committee. As a matter of fact, the first thing we ask when the petition comes before us is whether or not that petition is before any law court. And if the answer is yes, we do not touch such petitions. In addition to that, our Red Book also, under Order 40, has also laid down the processes that must be followed before a petition is laid. And if you allow me, Order 40 of our rule book, subsection 4, says that no senator may present to the Senate a petition signed by him or herself. In other words, I cannot submit a petition about myself signed by myself. That petition ought to be presented by another senator. And I'm sure that there are 3 senators from Kogi State, as it is with other states. Or any other senator could have obliged her to present that report. And that was not done. That's a direct contravention of our rule book. Now, we also have subsection 4 that, well, I'm not going to go into the issue of the sitting arrangement. I really don't want to go into that. the committee will meet after this hearing, public hearing, and to take a decision on all of that. But that report, we will not even touch it because it's a matter before the court. And on top of it, I went to the office as I left the chambers and I found a notice from M.J. Numa and Partners, LLP. They say they are trial attorneys and transaction advisors. And they have presented to me a motion and a road order from the court attempting to stop this committee from doing its work. This is unacceptable. And indeed, we should actually let the world know that there is what they call separation of powers in our Constitution. The judiciary, like I just told you, if there's a matter before them, we do not touch those matters. We know as parliamentarians what our rights, privileges are. And one of those things is we moderate what we do in the Senate. It is not subject to any court. And so in the Senate, whatever happens there happens within the Senate and not subject to any other court. The issue before us today is the issue of an alleged misconduct of one of our distinguished senators on the floor of the Senate. And there are rules that guide such conduct and such behaviors. It is not subject to any court outside this committee. And so we do not actually pay much reference to this order that came. We are going back on our rule book, like I said before, that the petition she presented today is actually dead on arrival. And I say that because it runs contrary to Order 40, subsection 4, that no senator may present to the Senate a petition signed by him or herself. And that petition, having been signed by her, will not be entertained by this committee. And so, ladies and gentlemen, she's not here. Now I can understand why she's not here. She's probably not here on the order of her lawyers. That being the case, the committee will sit and will deliberate on what we've gotten from distinguished senators that have presented their cases before us and the Sergeant at Arms, and based on our rule books and all other documents that is available to us, to make a decision here and then make a referral to the full Senate. I will yield the floor to any senator, distinguished senators, that may have one or two things to say on this matter before we close. We have listened to all relevant parties to it, and we also haven't exhausted all that we need to hear on this matter. We will adjourn this matter, but distinguished colleagues will have to stay back for us to do our deliberation while the press excuse us, so that we'll be able to report back to the House tomorrow. Thank you very much.